Good morning. Club Atletico St. Louis, we are a professional development soccer team for men. We help guys go professional. And then the bigger picture with that is once we have that platform solidified, we use that platform to get after youth to try to aspire to be like these guys. We focus on developing opportunities for kids who wouldn't normally have it. We have soccer academies in Africa, we have soccer academy in South America, we have soccer academies here, and what we do is we bring those kids to St. Louis from around the world to go to college here to try to break generational poverty, try to give them an opportunity. The next phase of this plan is to bring at-risk youth from St. Louis and bring them abroad, to show them a whole new world, to show them there's a whole big world out there, and these are the kids that would normally, leave their block or go past Grand. So the team is a team. So we're not trying to build a stadium or do things like that. We're trying to just simply create opportunities for kids to go professional and then utilize that platform to get into places where organizations would normally get to. So anti-human trafficking, on the front of our jersey, we don't have a sponsor. It says stop human trafficking on the front of our jersey. So that's an example where our platform is for anyone who's doing good in the city, anyone who's doing anything good with families, to use our team for the greater good. We partner with the HTCN, the Human Trafficking Coalition Network. We're the educators for the youth. We are the team, the staff is in the process of being certified so that we can go and certify other sports teams and show these directors and coaches, whatnot, of things to look for. These youth teams are traveling around the country to tournaments and hotels, and there's all kinds of things that we can educate them. And that's just another thing that Club Atletico is doing for our platform to protect kids, empower kids. I skipped a meeting today only because I already booked this one on opioid epidemic here in St. Louis. The opioid epidemic that we have is really bad. We've partnered with that group because soccer is international, and because of our team, we can get into cultures in our city that these groups could not normally do so. We can get into the Bosnian community, get into the Hispanic community because they like soccer, and we can bring players and we can do that. We've raised money for nonprofits, we've raised money for hospitals just by kicking the ball around. So what we want to be known for is anyone that has a fund they're trying to raise for doing something good, or there's a group of kids that just need some mentors to reach out to us and allow our team to then do a call to action there and try to help. Our city is very divided, it's very segregated. We have a racial divide, economic divide, social divide, so many different things just within our own city. And we're trying to combat that. We're trying to bring cultures together that wouldn't normally be together and go into their neighborhoods, do things for them, bring them to games, and now they're amongst people that they wouldn't normally be amongst, but they can have that conversation. So we're the Bluebirds is our nickname, and the way we look at it is every type of neighborhood is a different flock, and we go there and we serve that community, and then we bring that flock to meet another flock, and we're all one flock called the Bluebirds, and that's our motto and our mission is to unite everyone through culture. Our Bolivia Academy, we've helped over 70 kids come to St. Louis to go to college to break that poverty level. We're working on that in Abidjan and Lusaka, Zambia. We are close to being a professional team in Africa, and we're close to being a professional team in Bolivia. That's where our aspiration is to go pro internationally, so that we can send our American kids here to go professionally over there, pursue their careers there, connect with that community, get a different way of life, opportunity, and then come back and share those experiences in St. Louis, capture that, and scale that. So Club Atletico is athletic club in Spanish. We're doing it with soccer. I'm trying to eventually find someone that is another like-minded person like myself that may be a baseball guy, maybe a football guy, maybe a basketball guy, and just simply switch the soccer ball out for that ball and just scale what we're doing in our city and around the world. A little bit about my background. I have a digital media company, make apps, but that wasn't something I went to school for. I wanted to make college free in America so everyone has an opportunity to pursue that. and make sports free in America so that everyone has an equal opportunity. And so I designed an app to do that, and then that spiraled into a media company. So we capture all the things that we do because I have a digital media company to do it, and we know how to market it, but we're essentially doing those services for companies and then taking that money and then we put it into this soccer program. So if we get sponsors or people that really want to help, they get digital media services, but it goes to something greater than that. And that's the message that I wanted to share today, is get that out there, because sometimes people may not have a sponsorship budget, but they might need a website or digital media. And the goal here is to also start teaching digital media services to these kids who probably won't go to college necessarily, and start getting them to be more entrepreneurial right out of high school. And we can teach them to design, we can teach them to do these type of things. So the basis of Club Atletico essentially is to the great equalizer, to use it for empowering youth and preventing anything evil that could potentially attack with them. Partner with other great nonprofits and organizations. An example might be Bevo Mill Neighborhood Association, who's just trying to better the community, and we just simply go there and help in that way. And lastly, we have a platform with Benito. Benito is a minority mascot, and he's a huge asset to us because we can take Benito pretty much anywhere. The kids love him, and kids of color can relate and see, hey, he's one of us. So we now have that in our sports hemisphere here in St. Louis to be able to utilize. And the number one way to prevent sex trafficking, to prevent these predators from attacking these kids, is to build confidence and empower them. And we can bring Benito in there, do after-school programming, do all those things to try to help the anti-human trafficking problem that we have here in our city. So our website is gobluebirds.com. If you wanted to learn more about what we do, if you wanted to connect with us, that's the easiest way. We play at St. Louis U High, our games. We have 3 more home games. We're in the Heartland Conference. We play Tulsa, Wichita, Springfield, all cities that have sex trafficking problems. So our goal is to get our whole conference on board by next season, to put this as a forefront and utilize our teams to do these PSAs and get out there in the community about our issues we have in our cities. So I guess that pretty much kind of wraps it up of what we're about.
Testing this. All right, so we'll open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions right away? Here we go.
Great presentation, man. Love what you're doing.
Thank you.
A little curious, because it sounds like you've got your finger in a lot of different pies. You've got it in sex trafficking, you've got it in getting kids to college, you've got it in broadening their horizons by taking them out of country. How do you maintain a clear message with all of those endpoints in mind, so that people like us can really understand how to engage most effectively with Club Atletico?
We have different groups, so the part that brings people to St. Louis, one of my former players is out of Bolivia. He handles 99% of all of that. All I simply do is bring the American coaches from around the United States with me, throw them on the plane, fly over, and that's already established. If you want us to go to a country, because you've gone on a mission trip or something, literally all it takes for us to grow into that country is if you have a boot on the ground, just one person. We can build something around that person. I started a college program back in 2005, and we utilize that as the gateway. So I know the golden ticket on how to get them here. Then you have like the sex trafficking. Maybe that's something that piques someone's interest. We work with the HTCN on that. So we would just simply connect you with the HTCN, the founder of that, Human Trafficking Coalition Network. So we've got our hand in different pots, but we have leaders in each pot that's doing their thing. We're there to enhance them and allow them to solve those problems, and then us just simply assist it, but not necessarily be the leader in that. And that's what we want, is there could be a completely different topic of, hey, we have an issue over here, can you come? And we'll figure out a way for us to be able to put in that time. This is what I would love to do every day, is just simply go and connect with community leaders. And that's really my passion.
So, yeah, it was awesome. I'm so excited about what you're doing. So I have two questions. One being just that, I mean, I don't know, you kind of mentioned like the Bosnian community and the Hispanic community in St. Louis. Just seeing that we have like a really big human trafficking issue in North City, do you have interest from like the younger Black community to get involved with soccer, just so that's like less typical, I see?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we're right over on the north, we were in Ferguson, we go in there over Easter, signed up a bunch of these kids. The families were like, this is great, you're gonna come do this for our kids, it's free. But then when it came to actually implementing it, they won't let them leave their own block. Because, I mean, the last time I had gone there was 42 gunshots the night before. So, the problem is safe places to play in some of the places we go. The worst neighborhoods is where we're at. That's where we really want to thrive, because those are the most at-risk kids. So yeah, we're on the north side, we're on the east side, we're on the south side, or even out in the county where kids don't necessarily need it. But sometimes the kids that have everything need it the most. So yeah, there's no part of town that we won't go.
Right? Like you don't want to try to take kids out of those communities to play. Like you kind of need a field then, really, like a good central place.
Yeah, you go to them.
Okay.
Part of the problem is the transportation and things, so we go to them.
Okay.
And then we figure out how can we get them to games. The big thing is if you can get them to the games and they feel welcome, they feel like, whoa, this is a real deal, they go on the field, things like that. That's where I know we could make some really impact. Because it'd be amongst, let's say the north side of African American kid, this was a Latino kid from the south side. They're all wearing the same shirts. And the goal here, I grew up here in South St. Louis, and I'm half Mexican, half Italian, and I talk white. So I'm very multicultural, right? So I'm a chameleon. And there's other kids who just aren't. They can't really blend in, so they stay with what they know. If we could unite these kids who would normally think connected, you're gonna see a different impact in their life over time. So if anyone's from any neighborhood and you got issues, call us and we'd like to go there.
And then the only other thing I'd add, if you're going to implement other sports, we just need to cultivate basketball in St. Louis. It's so crazy. It's so crazy that we don't have an NBA team, if you ask me. So, and we have like a huge community support it. So I just hope that we can get people interested in really organizing around basketball eventually. That would be cool. So.
Great presentation, thank you. Have you considered, I'm sure you're going to the schools right now to find kids. Have you considered talking to the park systems?
Mm-hmm.
Because, Tower Grove has a huge couple of soccer fields.
Yeah, I met with City Recreation about offering a free soccer club. In St. Louis, it's pretty much 90-something% kids that got have a little bit of money. And mostly are white kids. And the professional teams we have here, when you go to the games, are mostly white families. And that's where you have this divide, this disconnection is just because it's not a part of the culture. So what we want to do in the city is offer everyone a chance by making it free or the most inexpensive thing ever, and give them that quality, high-level training, even higher than the clubs are paying. Because I was an example of that, of a kid who didn't have anything, but got my way through college because of playing soccer. And I didn't have the money to do club soccer. I just beat the crap out of my garage in the backyard with a soccer ball my whole youth. And just played for the love of the game. So the city rec saw that vision of what we're trying to do, and they're willing to give us next to nothing fields, which is one of the biggest expenses. So again, just simply having one boot on the ground in one neighborhood, we can then wrap around a program around that neighborhood very easily because we're getting support from the city right now.
So, Fox Park, Benton Park, some
Yeah.
places there.
Question is, when you say support from the city, you talk about the north side. Ferguson to me is North County. You have Matthew Dickey's Boys Club. You also have Herbert Hoover's Boys Club. You have Fairground Park. So are you working with any of those groups or organizations? Also, when you talk about sex trafficking, Ferguson, very little to none, but right in the heart of Wellston is the #1 sex trafficking area in St. Louis, and it ranks 14th in the nation. So are you working with any of those groups or any of those areas?
That's where we want to be. That's why there's a guy, Jose Aguayo, he's a friend of mine. He's out of Ferguson on the north side. My other friend on the north side, Union and Delmar, Demetrius. So there's no area that we're not going, but in that particular the Ferguson one, over by Wellston and whatnot, that's where we were trying to go there. Last year, my grandparents lived in Jennings, and the Matthew Dickey's Club there. I went there last summer to try to grow a program out of that, but our other team in St. Louis kind of started to create a program out of there, so they're functioning already. There's a league called New Dimensions in the city, which is like a 3-on-3 soccer program. They're starting to grow. So what we're trying to do to partner with them is to have that league grown into places that and kind of outskirt it and really cast that net out. What we're willing to do is go coach these kids up, connect those connections, and then point them into these leagues. What we need is the infrastructure, because you have these leagues and things in certain areas, but you can't get these kids to them. So what we want to do is be able to go into those neighborhoods and start that need, show that we can do it, and then simply stretch those leagues out there into those communities.
One more question. You mentioned Demetrius Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about the foundation right next to Soldan High School. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Any work with Soldan High School? Because I think, how many years, either years ago, when they had a soccer team, weren't they winning state?
Yeah, they were.
Consistently
Yeah.
with their Bosnian students?
We were working with the city, I think it was Gateway Tech, and I think it was Gateway Tech we talked to one time. And they're trying to get these internationals that start to come here as refugees or whatnot, as they're coming, they're trying to attract them into these city schools, so their population goes up, and they're trying to grow soccer and they don't know how. They don't have any people that teach at those schools that know soccer. Soldan was, I'm not sure what the clique was, but they had an influx of some of these Bosnian kids, international kids, and some of those guys out of Soldan went pro. And it shows, like, if you just put something together there, they can achieve it. My junior college program that we started, we recruited out of those areas. We recruited, if there was a kid of color that played soccer in St. Louis, they played for us over the last 12 years. Because those kids are attracted to the only diverse staff in all of St. Louis greater area. And they know what they know, and that's what our platform was. That's what I'm trying to achieve here, is show the kids, here's a pathway, let's figure out how to get them into school, and keep them kind of on the right narrow.
Ricardo, you mentioned the neighborhood in Ferguson, and I do live in Ferguson. I've been there for like 35 years, and I've seen the changes. I belong to Our Lady of Guadalupe Catholic Church, and I've seen a lot of Hispanic group during churches, and a lot of those kids, I'm not quite sure if they go to school in Guadalupe or not, but I know it's a lot of Hispanic kids go to Guadalupe school. I'm not sure if they still have soccer over there, but when my daughter went to school there when she was elementary, they did have soccer, but the principal that was implementing that before had already retired. Some of the teachers have retired, and I don't know if they still have soccer there or not, but I'm quite sure those kids will need the soccer if they don't have it. If you wanna, I don't know if you've already been there before or not, but there's a lot of growing kids over there that they can benefit probably from the idea you have.
So, as we've kind of trickled over the last few years here in St. Louis, and I kind of grew up here, built programs here, the whole reason why, like this presentation, for example, I even signed up for it. God leads me wherever I need to be, first of all, right? So coming to a Million Cups presentation and just telling you what we do is not because we need a pat on the back. It's to try to connect with someone at these different groups that we wouldn't normally have on FaceTime. So, like you in the back, for example, has an idea of a certain neighborhood that we should go, or you over at Lady Guadalupe School. The whole thing that we're doing is just try to connect with people like you guys that then can bring us in there and use our platform for whatever you know there's a problem. And that's exactly the message I'm trying to convey. You know where the problem is, that's why I want you to call me. You got a connection there, introduce me. We go anywhere and everywhere. And that's how we've been growing, is just by word of mouth. And that's why we get as many in front of microphones as we possibly can, and in front of many community leaders as we can. And we start building that nest together a little bit bigger and bigger.
I hate to keep asking all these questions, but not last.
That's all right.
When you say you work with organizations, there are a lot of St. Louis public schools that have no after-school activities.
I know.
Are you working
We're
with
trying
the
to do
public school system in St. Louis to make something?
Yes. What we're trying to create, are you familiar with futsal soccer? Futsal? Futsal is 5-on-5 on a basketball court, since we don't have official futsal courts here. And it's 5-on-5 soccer, super high pace. The ball is about this round, it's heavy, so it doesn't bounce. And around the world, kids play that growing up and they develop. That's the cheapest, most inexpensive program that we could put together, where all we need on a team is about 7 kids. And that's exactly what we want to do, is do this after-school program of futsal, because they all have gyms. And we can send one coach to handle 20, 30 kids and put together the teams. That's one program of the gentleman I mentioned, Demetrius, that we're going to try to put something together for the fall. See, this, and then kind of come back to your question of how are you putting all these things together? You see, the futsal program, an after-school program, period, is a way for us to connect with that area and get a kid to have some mentors. But what the anti-human trafficking are saying is that's also the #1 way to protect a child, is to build up their confidence and empower them. And so just as I, as a coach and a recruiter, start building my team with different things, that's essentially what we're doing as this ball is rolling. Is, hey, the trafficking don't know how to educate kids, and they don't know how to market. We are trying to help kids, and we definitely know how to market. So it can go on the front of our jersey, for example, in a program that we're already doing. Now that we're engaged in those kids, we can give them whatever message we want, but we're giving them positive messaging, right? So we just did Bush Middle School last week, and we've talked to that staff. They were begging us to do some trafficking like on the spot. I said, no, we're gonna wait till next year. But what we told them is, you're gonna communicate with us. Who is the kid that sits by himself? Who is the kid that doesn't have that many friends here? Who is the kid that needs that confidence? Connect us to their families. Create an empowerment program of after-school program designed for those kids, because those are the ones that are at risk. You gotta understand, the sex trafficking issue that we have here is so in front of you, you just don't see it, and I don't see it. Sometimes you have kids that go to school every day and play in the neighborhood, but their handler is getting them out to go do some things for that handler and back at home again. And it's disturbing. You have kids under 10 years old who are getting instructions from Xbox and PlayStation through the earpieces that their kids are playing on now. And they're attacking those kids there and explaining them how to print out the instructions from their parents' printer and get to the hotel, and what to say when you get to the hotel, and what to do when you're on the elevator. And they're getting so these detailed information. We have to try to combat things like that by just simply giving kids time. Just knowing their name and things like that. And that's the message we're learning from the HTCN, that we're already kind of doing that. Can we do that on their behalf? Can we enhance those type of things? So there's already 2 people right there that when this presentation is over, we need to sit down and have some more coffee and come up with a plan. Because that's one thing you're going to learn about our ownership and our team, is that we don't just talk. I mean, we literally will come up with a plan today and figure out how to do something this summer in your guys' neighborhood.
real logistics question. What age range of kids are you targeting for interaction with your club?
5-year-olds, 4-year-olds on up. I mean, these are kids. 6 and 7-year-olds are being victims. So unfortunately, we're not going to high schools to talk about trafficking. We're not going to middle schools to talk about trafficking. We're going to elementary schools to help prevent trafficking. And then, in terms of the soccer programming, it all connects to that. We're even trying to start stuff for 2-year-olds right now, for families to take their kids and do some things during the day and connect with other parents from different culture.
This is an exploratory or theoretical question. So are you familiar with John Wooden, the basketball coach? He won 10 NCAA championships. And besides being an excellent basketball coach, he also was, I guess, a motivational speaker or developed a system of, I guess, ethics. Is there any such system or person in soccer that can provide some type of cultural landmark or educational or meme system that can proliferate?
So when we go to North City, for example, in the black community, what we know the problem is they don't have someone that looks like them playing professional soccer in America. There's definitely not someone that grew out of St. Louis that's playing professional. It's the same thing in the Latin community. There's not someone local that looks like them that is on that platform. There's not really a soccer period in the United States that I can think of right now where you have a spokesperson for that. And it's just not there. And that's why this team is so diverse, like our team is so diverse, is because when one of these kids make it, they can be that face. And because they're volunteering alongside of me, I don't force any of my players to do any of this stuff, and I don't pay them to do any of this stuff. They're intertwined in it. We talked about bringing kids from out of the country and other places. It also works for these college players that I coach. When they come to areas that they never would have gone to normally, and they see what we're doing, so that when they go pro, they can be that face, they can be that for that community. So that is our vision, is to try to create those people from here that are St. Louis and focus on our local communities. And we helped one kid do that already. I brought him over from Jamaica actually to go to college for me. All of his friends from his neighborhood are dead. And we couldn't send him any refund checks or anything like that. Like at the end of the year, you get these refund checks from college or whatever. It was $100. It's like, don't send it, because every day they go to his mailbox and they think that he's sending money home to his mom. And out of college for us, he went straight to pro for a couple of years, got cut, called me up, said, "Coach, I can't go back home, man. I mean, they know everyone thinks I'm rich and can't go home." So I said, "Come to St. Louis. It'll be our first year for Club Atletico. You're a really good player. We'll help you go pro. You're higher than this league." He did. He came back with us. He played. Now he's a leading goal scorer in Vietnam in their Super League. And he was in Ferguson with me. He was going around as an ambassador. He would even go to West County and talk to the white kids about his story. And it was so powerful. It's one thing for me to talk to kids, but to actually have the players talking to them about their story and their struggle, where here's a young 20-year-old kid whose most of his friends are dead back home. Some people in St. Louis can relate to that. So we're not doing it necessarily at the highest level like a John Wood, but we do got some players that do have some really cool stories. And now we're trying to help them go pro. So now you have a local guy that came through the St. Louis system that can be that type of guy. That's what we're trying to do. And when we finally can develop a kid, and I will say I'm a pretty good coach, and I've developed kids over the years. If we can get some kids now, and start developing over the next 6-8 years, and then they come and play for Atletico, now, just how we talked about breaking the generational poverty or generational culture, we've just kind of broken that generational soccer development to where now, hey, you know, he did it, he's playing, and the rest of that neighborhood sees there's a chance. So this isn't something that's going to be overnight. This program is something that we're dedicated to for the next 20, 30 years of my life. to try to find that 6, 7, 8-year-old kid, and for the next 10 years, try to make some of those guys make it. And we're in this for the long haul.
Sorry. Kylie had to leave, but we both agreed on something. The Major League Soccer team, when it went up for a vote, the reason why, you know why they didn't happen,
Oh, yeah.
why they were voted out, right?
But, yeah, of course.
And so I'm sitting here saying to myself, and Kylie agrees with me, you need to team up with those guys because that's where they lost. North St. Louis wasn't even interested, period.
I know.
Because they saw no benefit for them.
Right?
But I think if they teamed up with you and kind of used that program to reach North St. Louis, now you have something that's going to be viable for them. Because that's how they lost.
I know. I appreciate that. I actually talked to the ownership. It was 2 weeks ago. We got invited and had a conversation about that same thing you just said there. And I said, think of the Cardinals. You have this brand of baseball that everybody's go Cardinals. But there's so many people who don't go to those games because they can't afford it. You can't bring your whole family to a Cardinal game, a Blues game. And so you have this secondary support system for the Cardinals. For some reason, even families who don't go to games are still Cardinals fans. They have pride in it. I don't know what the deal is. So what I had told them was, I said, you could try to make this thing diverse. And you could try to make it inclusive. But if you don't actually grassroot it and go to the neighborhoods and use your platform to improve their life, they have no connection to you. And that's what we're trying to tell them, that we're doing it, but we don't have the resources to do it at the level we want to do it. One idea I gave them, I said, if you could do 4 community days on a home day game, so while the game's going on, you're going to neighborhoods like Fox Park, Benton Park, different places where families are not getting in the car to go downtown to an MLS game. And you put on a barbecue, food event, and have a bunch of small-sided soccer goals and one of those $600 Amazon screens, and you're playing the game live on a speaker. The kid will never go to the game, the family will never go to the game, but the families can bring their kids somewhere in a park every home game. And that's something you just gave the family, and you didn't take any money out of their pocket. So that's what I'm trying to convey message to people like that, is you're not going to get, it's almost like, hey, if our stands are diverse, we win. No. There's still a whole community out there that is not engaged, and you want their support. Then use your resources that you know you have, and go and help those neighborhoods, and do something, and give back. And we would love to take that role from them, because that's our life. That's what we do. I just did a website yesterday for $1,000, and 800 of that immediately is gone already, because it went straight into our program of expenses that we had. And so I'm already doing all those skill sets that I got just to throw in there, because we don't get donors, we don't have a lot of sponsors. We need that support. So if you contact them, I think that's a great idea of us maybe being their community engagement, because I don't think anyone else knows it or understands it or can relate to different communities in St. Louis that we do. It just can't. And there's no one that looks like us on that ownership group and in that staff. And I told them straight out, I'm not here to knock you. I want this thing to happen, but there's just this whole other life that you guys don't understand. And we just wanted to be able to help. So, yep.
Two things I'd say. One is if you could maybe talk to the Cardinals about the Cardinals Care Program, maybe align yourself that way.
We're trying to, so our mascot, like if you go to our website, gobluebirds.com, and start looking on our social media, you'll see we got this Benito, a bluebird. What we're doing next week, rolling out next week, is a Fredbird jersey to start this relationship between baseball, soccer, Cardinals, more diverse community, and invite Fredbird out so that Benito and Fredbird, who are sort of the face of it, can create a relationship. A red and a blue, 2 different colors, but they're still birds, human. And we're trying to unite them and invite them in, invite Fredbird in to enjoy a game, Maybe he'll invite Benito. That's the symbolism of what we're trying to do. Rather than like a marketing thing, where it's more so of utilizing that symbolism of what we're about. Bring Cardinals into that and let them see the vision. Because like I said, I have an uncle who's in his 50s, diehard Cardinal fan, and he's only gone to 2 games in his life. You know, and I'd like to be able to just see kids go to those games and really think and believe that they could be an athlete. And I just don't think that that's true right now in professional sports. I don't think kids look at that, especially here in St. Louis, and think that they could do it.
Well, I know on the lines of
The donation and the
the
foundation and
donation
stuff.
aspect, even at the new soccer group, whoever coming in town, or the new soccer team coming in town, going that route, posing yourself as that kind of, the soccer care or whatever it is, whoever the team's name is, that type of stuff, your team's name. The other thing I was going to say is, have you ever connected with Vinco over at the Mosaic group?
Yeah, we're friends.
All right.
He's a big supporter of us.
Okay.
He co-founded that St. Louis Pickup
Right.
Soccer,
Exactly.
and they have 5,000 people in that. So what we wanted, we're scrimmaging them every week. So these guys, if you guys aren't familiar with St. Louis Pickup Soccer, people that migrate to St. Louis or grew up in St. Louis, they like soccer, they're professional, some career path or something like that, and it's a way where they just put on social media, we're going to be at Washington Park or DeBerg High School or whatever, and people just show up and start playing, they don't pay anything, they just play. It's a community, and we love that. And so what we asked them was, can you put 18 of the best players out of the 5,000 you got and play us every week? So now they're a part of our team. They're a part of our soaring through the development side of it and try to connect and then get those 5,000 people to hopefully jump on board with our community projects, because we need more volunteers.
I was going to say, take those 18 players you're asking for and break them out and have each one be a coach, and then you got places to go all over the place. So.
Exactly. So when we have all these fields that are being offered to us, they can come over and be a part of it.
I'll ask one question here.
Yeah.
You've talked about starting other teams in other cities, other countries, but just to be clear, everything is starting from here, right? You are the driving
So
force.
we started in Bolivia and Santa Cruz. Tried to do it in Colombia, didn't go well. Then we did it in Abidjan. We're doing it in Lusaka. And now that those have been established, we launched it here in St. Louis. So technically we started over there first to kind of create that foundation. And then, like I said, God leads to one another. I had the idea of owning a team, being the minority owner, and being from South St. Louis, but it wasn't the path 10 years ago. It just trying to help those kids get out of generational poverty in Bolivia, then launching a team, grew into what we did in St. Louis. And that's where I know for a fact, just by meeting some people here, the next meeting, Club Atletico is just going to keep growing. And who knows where we'll be in a year or 2 years. If we can get more people that are actually engaged in their community and actually know the reality of it, then now we get people that say, hey, we want to be on your board. How can we help? You don't give us money, just give us time and resources of what they know. And I think Club Atletico could be a scalable model, first successful in St. Louis, and then we can grow at other places next.
Our classic question is, what can the community do for you? So as we all leave this presentation, what would you like us to take and roll with?
I think you should come to a game. Just come to a game, it's $10. And your kids pretty much get in for free. And bring a friend and come to a game and see the fan experience, see the diverse staff, see our dancers and our national anthem speakers. So what I'm telling you, you can literally see it at one of our games. And then from there, just contact anyone in a Club Atletico shirt. Here's our logo. That you're interested to be a part of Club Atletico's mission. And we'll be putting you to work that following week.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.